My little girl called, "Dad, I'm getting married tomorrow. I just emptied all the money from your accounts and sold your house. Goodbye." "Dad," I heard those words and froze, ready to collapse right there. But then I just started laughing because she didn't know the secret that house held. She thought I was an old fool, a confused old man who didn't even know what day it was. But tomorrow, when she walks down the aisle, the police will arrive to hand her a very special gift before she can even put the ring on. Hello, friends. Gather around the fire. Thank you for joining me. Please leave a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments where you are listening from. A quick note. This is a story with dramatized elements to give the narrative more impact. Any resemblance to reality is purely coincidental. But the lesson hidden within is something we can all learn from. I laughed when I saw the zeros on the screen. It wasn't a nervous giggle or a scoff. It was one of those belly laughs that shakes your guts and echoes off every wall in the kitchen at 7:30 on a Sunday morning. The kind of laugh that makes the neighbors wonder if you've finally lost your mind, and maybe I had. I was sitting at the kitchen table in my house on Oakwood Trail, with my laptop open and my coffee getting cold beside me. The Austin, Texas sun was just starting to peek over the hills, painting the live oaks and bluebonnets in the garden with gold. It should have been a peaceful morning. Retirement had given me many of those, but my bank account balance was anything but peaceful. It was an absolute disaster. Checking account, $1. T-Buy. Previous balance, $6. Barbe. Savings account, $0. Previous balance, $220. Ling ling ling. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, closed the laptop, and opened it again. Still zero. That was when I laughed. Why? What else can you do when your life savings vanish overnight? When you spent 30 years as a bank manager teaching people how to protect themselves from fraud? And one day you wake up to find out the victim is you. You either laugh or you cry. I chose to laugh. I clicked on the transaction history. My hands were surprisingly steady for a man who had just been left penniless. 3 massive withdrawals from the savings account. One from checking, October 24, 2024. 947 HM 90. 000 transferred to Amanda Sullivan's account, ending in 3,782, October 24. 268 605 000 transferred to BH Investments, October 25. 11:30 HM 45 000 transferred to Luxury Weddings, Austin, October 26. 3:42 p.m. $500 withdrawn from an ATM at the Domain. Total 2 cents. Vint. Wu by Amanda Sullivan. My daughter. I stared at her name on the screen. 32 years old. Marketing coordinator. Lives in Westlake Hills. Drives a leased Honda. Calls me twice a month. Maybe 3 if she needs something. And apparently, she had just cleaned out my accounts. The phone rang. I looked at the caller ID, Amanda Sullivan. For a second, I thought about not answering, letting it go to voicemail, pretending I hadn't seen the bank statements yet, that I was still the clueless old man she thought I was. But I'm no fool. I'm a banker, or I was. I picked up the receiver. Dad, her voice sounded bright, almost dizzy with happiness. I have the best news. I didn't say anything. Brad and I are getting married this Saturday. Can you believe it? We didn't want a long engagement. So we're just taking the plunge. In debt. We bought a house, I gripped the receiver tightly. A house. Yes, it's perfect. 3 bedrooms. 2 bathrooms. A pool. You're going to love it. What's the address? My voice sounded calm. Too calm. 2,943 Canyon Creek Court in Round Rock. It's super close to everything. We got an amazing deal. 2,943 Canyon Creek Court. My rental property. The house I had owned for 9 years. The one that brought in $3. $200 a month. The house that was supposed to fund my old age, along with the savings account that now displayed a big fat zero. Amanda, I said slowly. That's my house. There was a pause, and then a light, carefree laugh. I know. Dad, that's the best part. I used the power of attorney you signed. Remember you said I could handle your finances if you ever got sick or couldn't take care of things, so I sold the house and we used the money for the down payment. Isn't it great? It keeps everything in the family. Power of attorney. I didn't remember signing any power of attorney. I would remember something like that. I had spent 3 decades reviewing legal documents. I knew exactly what a POA looked like. I knew what it meant. And under no circumstances would I have ever given my daughter that kind of control. Amanda. My voice dropped. I never signed a power of attorney. Another pause. This time longer. Of course you did. Dad. Back in September, when you were in the hospital with pneumonia, I brought you the papers, insurance forms. Remember you signed everything. September. St. David's Medical Center. A 104-degree fever. Hospitalized for 3 days. Unable to even lift my head off the pillow. And Amanda visiting me, bringing papers, telling me they were routine. I closed my eyes. Amanda. Where did the money from my savings account go? What are you talking about? The $220. Ling, ling, ling. Where is it? I already told you. The house. The wedding. Dad. Are you feeling okay? You sound confused. Confused. She thought I was confused. Or maybe she wanted me to think I was. I'm fine. I said in a whisper. I'll call you later. Wait. Dad. I hung up. The kitchen fell into a deathly silence, broken only by the electric hum of the refrigerator. I sat there with the phone in my hand, staring at the screen. Zero. I thought of Catherine, my wife, the woman who had sat at this very table 34 years ago, holding a tiny, red-faced baby girl in her arms, tears streaming down her face. She's perfect, Catherine had whispered. Matt. She is absolutely perfect. And she was. Amanda was perfect. Smart. Funny. Stubborn as a mule. She was just like her mother. Catherine passed away 3 years ago. On Valentine's Day, 2021. A car accident on the highway to San Antonio. The kind of ordinary tragedy that rips your life apart without warning. Before she left, I promised her I would always protect Amanda. No matter what, take care of our little girl. Catherine told me, placing her hand over mine. I will. I promised. But how do you protect someone from themselves? I looked back at the screen. The zeros. My daughter's name on the transaction list. And then I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I didn't know what else to do. My daughter just stole $220. 000 from me. I said aloud to the empty kitchen. And I'm sitting here laughing. I looked at Catherine's picture on the counter. Her smile. Her eyes. The way she always believed the best in people, even when they didn't deserve it. Catherine, I whispered, if you're watching, forgive me. I failed. I closed the laptop. Outside. The morning over the Texas hill country stretched out golden and silent. And inside, I was alone, with nothing but a cup of cold coffee and the echo of my own hollow laughter. 45 minutes later, I was still standing by the window, looking out at the garden. The live oaks stood in silence in the morning light, reaching up as if asking themselves the same question I was. How did I not see it? I'm the guy who doesn't miss these things. For 30 years, I was the man people came to when they had doubts about their money. Matthew Sullivan, branch manager in downtown Austin, the man capable of spotting a forged signature from across the desk, the one who had saved at least a dozen elderly clients from handing over their life savings to scammers disguised as financial advisors or loving family members. I knew every trick in the book. Fake power of attorney documents, émotionnelle manipulation, urgency tactics. Sign this now. Mom. Before it's too late, I had seen it all, and I had stopped it all. Until today, now I was the cautionary tale. I stepped away from the window and glanced around the kitchen. The house was quiet. Too quiet. It had been like this for 3 years. Ever since Catherine left, this house on Oakwood Trail belonged to her before it was ours. She inherited it from her parents, put it in a trust, and made sure it was always protected. Our safety net, she used to call it, a place we could always come back to. No matter what, Catherine was the smart one when it came to legal matters. I handled the numbers. She handled everything else. We got married in 1990, 34 years ago. She was 24, fresh out of teacher's college, with a smile that lit up any room. I was 26, wearing a suit I had borrowed from my dad and a ring I had saved up 6 months for. Amanda was born 2 years later, our only child. Catherine had complications during birth, and the doctors told us there wouldn't be any more babies. We didn't care. Amanda was enough. More than enough. She was perfect. Or so I thought. Catherine passed away on February 14, 2021. She was coming back from a teachers' conference in San Antonio, and one 8-wheeler driver fell asleep at the wheel and drifted into her lane. She didn't suffer. That's what they told me. It was instantaneous. I'm not sure if that brings any comfort. After she was gone, I drowned myself in work. But I was 56. I was tired. And grief makes you careless. I retired in 2022, 2 years earlier than planned. The bank gave me a gold watch and a plaque that said something about my dedicated service. I shoved it all in a drawer and haven't looked at it since. I thought retiring would help. I thought I'd have time to process things, to grieve properly, to figure out how to live without the woman who had been my partner for more than half my life. Instead, I felt more alone. Amanda called at first. Once a week. Maybe twice. But she was busy. Marketing coordinator at a firm in West Lake Hills. Making her $72,000 a year. Living in a 1-bedroom apartment that cost her $650. She had her own life. I didn't want to be the clingy dad, the one who holds on too tight. So I let her float at her own pace. I started volunteering at the Austin Public Library, teaching financial literacy to seniors. Ironic. Right, helping others avoid exactly what I was about to fall into. But it gave me something to do. It kept my mind sharp. Or so I thought. The rental property, the one on Canyon Creek Court, was supposed to be my backup plan. I bought it in 2015, just before the market skyrocketed. I paid $340, 000, for it. Now, It was worth over $575. Ling, ling, ling. Yes, David and Lisa had been renting it since 2021. Good tenants. Paid on time. Took care of the place. Never caused trouble. That $3, $200 a month covered property taxes. Insurance. And still left me a good cushion. Between the rent and my savings, I had it made. Comfortable. Secure. Or so I was. I went back to the table and opened the laptop again. The screen still showed my balances. 1,000,000. 700 inches checking. 0 in savings. I opened the transaction details one more time, even though I already knew them by heart. Amanda Sullivan, BH Investments, Luxury Weddings. Austin, my daughter, my perfect, beautiful, smart little girl, the one I taught to ride a bike, the one who cried on my shoulder when her high school boyfriend dumped her, the one who stood by my side at Catherine's funeral, squeezing my hand so hard I thought she'd never let go. I'm going to take care of you, Dad. She had whispered that day. He promised. And I believed her. I believed every single word. I closed my eyes and saw Catherine's face. Not how she looked at the end, but how she looked when Amanda was born. Exhausted, crying, radiant. She's perfect. Matt, she is absolutely perfect. Forgive me. I whispered to the empty room. I am so sorry. I opened my eyes and looked at the laptop again. I spent 3 decades teaching people how to avoid this, how to protect themselves, how to recognize the red flags, and I swallowed every single one of them because the person stealing from me was my daughter. And I loved her too much to see it coming. I grabbed my phone and typed into the search engine, Times Elder Financial Fraud Attorney. Austin, Texas. The first result was Arthur Montgomery's law firm, 5 stars, specialist in elder financial abuse. Fraud. Estate disputes. I stared at the phone number for a long time. This was the moment, the point of no return. Once I made this call, there was no going back. I couldn't pretend it was a misunderstanding. There would be no hope of Amanda fixing it on her own. This was me admitting my daughter had robbed me and that I had to stop her. I dialed the number. It rang twice before a woman answered. Montgomery Law Firm. How can I help you? I took a breath. My name is Matthew Sullivan, I said, my voice cracking slightly. I need help. My daughter robbed me. The receptionist told me someone would call me back in less than an hour. I hung up and checked the time. 9:00 I was supposed to teach a class at the library at noon. I wasn't going to go. I sat at the kitchen table with the phone in my hand. The house was too quiet. It had been like that for 3 years. But today, the silence felt heavier without thinking. I opened my Photos app and started swiping. Catherine at the lake, Amanda's college graduation, a sunset over the hills. And then I stopped. A photo from the summer of 1999. Amanda, 8 years old, sitting at this very table with crayons scattered everywhere. She was holding up a drawing, smiling, showing a gap between her teeth. My daddy, the hero. I remembered that day, summer of 99. Austin, mid-afternoon, with that thick Texas heat like syrup. I had just gotten home from the bank, still wearing my suit, sweat sticking my shirt to my body. Amanda was at the kitchen table hunched over a yellow piece of paper. Catherine was at the stove making spaghetti, humming a song. Daddy. Look, Amanda held up her drawing. A stick figure with a cape and a big M on the chest. Me flying through the air. holding a little girl's hand. You're Superman. She beamed. And I'm your sidekick. Catherine laughed. Your daughter thinks you're a superhero. Don't let it go to your head. I knelt next to Amanda, loosening my tie. This is amazing. Can I keep it? She nodded very seriously. You have to, because you protect me from the bad guys. I hugged her, breathing in the smell of strawberry shampoo. I'll always protect you. Sweetheart, I promise. Pinky swear. She smiled and went back to coloring. Catherine met my gaze from across the room. Her smile said something I didn't understand at the time. Don't make promises you can't keep. But I believed I could keep that promise forever. I swiped to the next photo. June 2009. High school graduation. The school courtyard. Amanda in a cap and gown. Diploma in hand. Already looking like a grown woman. Catherine and I on either side with our arms around her shoulders. She was crying. Thank you for everything. She told us, her voice breaking. I know I wasn't always easy, but I love you guys. I'm going to make you both so proud. I promise. I laughed. You already do. I mean it. Dad. Catherine kissed her head. We always have been. My heaven. We took the picture right after, the three of us smiling. Amanda in the middle, holding both of our hands. She looked so happy. I wondered when that had changed. I swiped again, and my chest tightened. February 14. 2021. Austin. This wasn't a photo. It was a memory. St. David's Medical Center. Equal. Fluorescent lights. The beeping of machines. The smell of disinfectant. Catherine was in the bed, with her eyes closed. Peaceful. But she wasn't sleeping. The doctors had already told me. The impact on the highway had been too strong. She was already gone. But the machines kept going so I could say goodbye. Amanda was by my side, clinging to my arm, 29 years old. But she looked like a scared little girl. Dad, I'm sorry. It's not your fault. I should have come over more. Called more. I should have. Amanda. I turned to her. She was crying her eyes out. It's not your fault. She threw her arms around my neck. And we stayed there in that cold room while the machines kept their indifferent rhythm. I'm going to take care of you. She whispered, just like you took care of Mom and took care of me. I'm going to be here for you. Dad, I swear. I held her tighter. Because I believed her, I closed the app. 3 memories. 3 promises. You protect me from the bad guys. I'm going to make you proud. I'm going to take care of you. Dad. I stared at the phone. My vision blurry. What happened to that little girl who thought I was Superman? The one who cried at her graduation and promised to make me proud? The one who hugged me in the hospital and swore to take care of me? When did she become someone capable of stealing everything I had? I kept that drawing for years. I had it pinned up in my office at the bank. Clients would ask about it. And I'd say, that's my daughter. She thinks I'm Superman. And I felt proud. After Catherine passed, I framed it and put it on my nightstand next to a photo of Amanda's graduation. You're my hero. I wasn't anyone's hero anymore. Just a 8-year-old man whose favorite person in the world had just left him out on the street. I stared at the photo on the screen. Amanda Atsikis, holding her drawing, smiling. My daddy, the hero. I closed my eyes. Forgive me, sweetheart. I whispered to the empty kitchen. Forgive me. I didn't know who I was asking for forgiveness. Amanda, Catherine, myself, or maybe all 3. The phone rang. I looked at the screen. Montgomery Law Firm. Mr. Sullivan. This is Arthur Montgomery. Can you come to my office today at 2:00? I looked at the clock. 9:15. I'll be there, I said. I sat at the table for a moment, holding the phone. 2:00. Arthur Montgomery's office. I had almost 5 hours. I checked my calendar. Sunday morning. I was supposed to volunteer at the library to teach the financial literacy class. I had been doing it every other Sunday for 2 years. Today's topic times, how to spot elder financial abuse. The irony would have been funny if it weren't so painful. I grabbed my keys and walked out the door. 10:00. I was parking at the library. The building was quiet. Just a few people browsing the shelves and a couple of kids in the children's section. I went to the multi-purpose room and started setting things up. The laptop, the projector, the brochures stacked on the table by the door. Slide 1 times elder financial abuse red flag. I stared at the screen and felt a knot in my chest. The students would start arriving at 1:30. I had an hour and a half to pull myself together. I sat in one of the empty chairs and closed my eyes. But all I could see was Amanda. 2021. The year Catherine passed. During the first few months, Amanda was there. She called 2 or 3 times a week. She came to the house on weekends, helping me sort through Catherine's things, clothes, books, the ceramic birds she had collected over the years. You don't have to do this alone, Dad, she told me, sitting on the living room floor surrounded by cardboard boxes. I'm here. And she was. For a while. 2022. The year I retired, the calls started spacing out. Once a week. If that. Amanda was very busy. Marketing coordinator. Making her $72. 000. But always stressed about rent, car payments, credit cards. Sorry I haven't called more. Dad, work has been crazy. I understand. Sweetheart, you have your own life, and I meant it. I didn't want to be the suffocating dad, the one who guilts his daughter for living her life. So I didn't push. I just waited for the phone to ring. 2023. The year she pulled away. In March, Amanda signed the lease for her apartment in Westlake Hills. 1,000,000. $650 a month for a single bedroom. It was only a few miles from my house, but it might as well have been across the country. It's closer to work. Dad. And the area is super nice. That's great. Honey, I'm really happy for you. The calls dropped to 1 or 2 a month. Sometimes she'd answer when I called. Most of the time, she didn't. Can't talk right now. I'm at the office. I'll call you later. She never did. The house grew quieter. I started eating dinner in front of the TV. Frozen meals. Canned soup. I would sit on the couch with Catherine's photo on the mantel across from me and talk to her. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I tell her. I don't know why she won't call. Catherine's smile never answered. Frank Davies, my best buddy from my banking days, came to see me once or twice a month. We'd sit on the patio drinking beers, talking about the Texas Longhorns, about anything other than what was actually happening. You should call her. Frank told me one afternoon in June, just pick up the phone. If I call, she doesn't answer, then go to her house, drop by and surprise her. I'm not going to ambush my own daughter. Frank, he shrugged. Do what you want. But sitting here waiting isn't working either. He was right. But I didn't listen. Early 2024. The year everything changed. By spring, Amanda and I barely spoke. A text here and there. Short. Distant. Happy birthday. Dad, thanks. Honey, love you. Not a call. Not a visit. I told myself it was normal. She was 32. She had her own life. Her own problems. I couldn't expect her to drop everything for her widowed father, but the loneliness was suffocating me. And then, in July, she called out of the blue, the first time in weeks. Hey, Dad, quick question. How much is your rental house worth? The one in Round Rock. I was so happy to hear her voice that I didn't even hesitate. About $575. Ling, Ling, Ling. I think maybe a little more. Why do you ask? Oh, just curious. Brad and I were talking about real estate investing. Brad's my boyfriend. I'll tell you about him later. Gotta go. Love you. And she hung up. I should have asked more questions. Who was this Brad? How long had they been dating? Why was she suddenly interested in my rental house, but I didn't? Because I was just so damn grateful she had called. I opened my eyes and looked at the empty room. I had been so lonely that I didn't see what was happening. I didn't see how she was pulling away, or circling closer. Depending on how you looked at it, I ignored every single red flag. The seniors started arriving at 1130. Mrs. Carmichael took her usual spot in the front row. Mr. Roberts sat in the back with his notepad. Good morning, Matt. Mrs. Carmichael greeted. Ready to teach us how not to get swindled? I forced a smile. I gave the class on autopilot. I talked about red flags, protecting accounts, not signing documents you haven't read, even if the person asking is family, especially times if it's family. Any questions? I asked at the end. Mrs. Carmichael raised her hand. What happens if the person trying to steal from you is someone you love, someone you trust with all your heart? I stared at her for a long time. Then you're in the worst position of all, I said quietly, because you won't see it coming until it's too late. The room went silent. I closed my laptop. Take care of yourselves out there. They filed out slowly, thanking me. Mrs. Carmichael lingered at the door. Matt, are you all right? I'm fine. I lied, just a little tired. She didn't look convinced, but she nodded and left. I packed my things and walked to my car. It was 1:15 p.m. I drove home in silence. When I got there, I stood in the living room and looked at Catherine's picture. I was so lonely. I whispered, I didn't see it. Forgive me. I went upstairs to my bedroom and put on my navy blue suit, the one I used for important board meetings at the bank. I looked in the mirror. 58 years old. Tired, but still standing. I grabbed my laptop, my phone, and the folder with the bank statements I had printed that morning at 1:45 p.m. I walked out the door. It was time to stop being a victim. It was time to be Matthew Sullivan again. Arthur Montgomery's office was on the 3rd floor of a building on Congress Avenue. Floor-to-ceiling windows, leather chairs, a dark mahogany desk. I sat across from him with the folder on my lap. He listened in silence as I explained everything. The withdrawals, the fake power of attorney, the rental house. Then he leaned back in his chair and looked at me. Tell me about your daughter's boyfriend, he said. When did you meet him? I took a breath. In April of this year. Walk me through it. April 2020. Shipatru. At my house. It was a Saturday night. Amanda had called that morning, the first time in weeks, to ask if she could bring someone over for dinner. I want you to meet Brad. Dad, I think you're really going to like him. I said yes. Of course I said yes. They arrived at 6:00. Amanda looked happy. radiant, and the man beside her looked like he stepped out of a magazine. Dull, dark hair, an expensive charcoal suit, a watch that caught the light when he shook my hand. Mr. Sullivan. It's an honor. His grip was firm, confident. Amanda has told me wonderful things about you. Call me Matt. Come on in. We sat in the living room. Amanda brought some drinks. Brad leaned back on the couch, completely at ease. So, you're in real estate? I asked. That's right. Real estate investments. I manage the family business. BH Investments. We focus on commercial properties, office buildings, retail spaces. How long have you been doing that? About 10 years. My parents started the company. I took over operations a few years ago. He spoke smoothly, mentioned projects in downtown Austin, in the Hill Country, dropped names of developers, talked about cap rates, bourgeois, market trends. It all sounded very impressive, but something felt off. I didn't know exactly what. Maybe it was his delivery too smooth, rehearsed, like a salesman, not an investor. Or maybe it was the watch. I spent 30 years in banking. I knew what a real Tag Heuer looked like. That wasn't one, but I didn't say anything. Amanda looked so happy. What was your impression? Montgomery asked. Pen poised over his legal pad. I was mildly impressed. I admitted, but my gut told me something was wrong. He talked too much, too polished, like he was selling me something. Montgomery nodded. What happened next? In July, Amanda invited me to have dinner with his parents. July 2024. The Prime Steakhouse. A high-end restaurant. Friday night. Packed to the brim. Brad's parents were already there. Rose Hunter. In here, Milheltris. Elegant. With a warm smile. Stood up and shook my hand. Matt. So wonderful to finally meet you. Amanda has told us so much. Richard Hunter, early 60s. Grey hair. Quiet. Shook my hand. Made a comment about the brutal Texas heat. And sat back down. We ordered dinner. Rose did most of the talking. BH Investments has been in the family for 20 years. She told me, Richard and I built it from nothing. Now Brad has taken the helm, and we couldn't be prouder. That's wonderful. I said, we are thrilled Brad found Amanda. We want to help them start their life. She smiled. We're planning to give them $250, 000 as a wedding gift. I almost choked on my drink. That is incredibly generous. Family takes care of family. Rose said. Richard talked a bit about golf. Rose talked about retiring to Florida. Brad and Amanda held hands under the table. I left that night thinking they were a good family. I was wrong. Did you notice anything suspicious? Montgomery asked. At the time, no. I admitted. They seemed legitimate, successful, generous. And then came the engagement. In August. Amanda called to tell me he gave her the ring. I remembered that call. Her breathless voice. Dad. He gave me the ring. We're getting married. That's wonderful. Sweetheart. I'm so happy for you. And I was. But a small part of me was worried. They had only known each other for 4 months. I thought it was really fast. I told Montgomery. But I didn't want to be the disapproving Detto. I didn't want to push her away, so I kept my mouth shut. I smiled. I told her I was happy for her. Montgomery set his pen down and looked at me. Matt, everything you just described is covered in red flags. The whirlwind romance, the luxury lifestyle, the parents offering $250,000. He paused. I think we need to dig deeper. How I'm going to hire a private investigator, the best in Austin. Michael Barber. I'll have him run a full background check on Bradley Hunter, financial records, criminal history, corporate filings for his companies. Everything. I nodded slowly. Do it. Montgomery jotted something on his pad. He looked up. Walk me through the money transfers. He said, When was the first time you gave Amanda money? I closed my eyes, trying to remember. June of this year. What happened? June 2024. Amanda called me on a Tuesday afternoon. I was out back, watering the plants. Catherine had loved so much. Dad, I have an amazing opportunity. She sounded excited, talking fast. I want to open a children's boutique in Westlake. A boutique? Yeah. High-end kids' clothes, toys, accessories. Brad has been helping me with the business plan. His parents think it's a stellar idea. I felt a pang of doubt. Amanda had never mentioned wanting to start a business. That sounds like a massive commitment. I said carefully, I know. But Dad, this could be huge. I've done the market research. The demand is there. I just need an investor. How much are we talking about? A pause. 50美元. 000. I almost dropped the hose. Amanda. That's a lot of money. I know. But treat it like an investment. I'll pay you back with interest. Brad says we could see profits in under a year. Brad says, I don't know. Honey, let me think about it. Dad. Her voice changed, softer now. Mum always told me to chase my dreams. She believed in me. Don't you? And there it was. The one thing I couldn't fight. Catherine would have wanted me to support our daughter. Of course I believe in you, I said quietly. Then help me, please. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. I should have said no. I should have asked more questions. But I didn't. Okay, I said. Send me the business plan. Let me look it over. Thank you. Dad, thank you so much. I love you. I love you too. Kiddo. July 8. 2024. The business plan arrived via email. 15 pages. It looked professional. Projected revenue. Expense breakdown. Market analysis. It seemed legit. But I had seen enough forged documents in my banking career to know that anyone with a laptop and a free template can make something look real. I should have shown it to a lawyer. I should have done my homework. But I didn't, because I wanted to believe my daughter. A week later, Amanda came to the house with the paperwork, an investment agreement, and the articles of incorporation for an LLC, both under the name Little Stars Boutique. LLC. Just sign here, here, and here, she told me, pointing at the pages. I grabbed the papers and started reading them. Dad. Her voice had a sharp edge. Do you trust me or not? I looked up. She was standing by the window, arms crossed, jaw tight. Of course I trust you. Then sign the papers. Brad's parents are putting money in too. This is a real opportunity. But if you don't believe in me, just say so. I signed, and I wired the $50. 0, 0, 0 to an account under Little Stars Boutique. Did you ever see the boutique? Montgomery asked. No. I said, not until last month, October 2024. I had been asking Amanda about the store for weeks, when it was opening, where the lease was, if I could go see it. She kept stalling, still remodeling. Dad, I'll let you know when it's ready. So I decided to take a drive myself. She had only mentioned the address once. In passing. Bee Cave Road. I found it on a Sunday afternoon. It was an empty dirt lot. Weeds. A chain link fence. No store. No construction. Nothing. I sat in my car for 20 minutes staring at that vacant lot. $50,000. It was a lie. I told Montgomery. I know now that it was all fake. There never was a boutique. Montgomery nodded slowly. And what about the power of attorney? When did that happen? I clenched my jaw. September. He got sick. From September 14 to 18. It started with a cough. Then a fever. Then chills so bad I couldn't get out of bed. By the time I called an ambulance, I was at 104 degrees. Pneumonia. They admitted me to St. David's, put me on antibiotics, and kept me there for 3 days. Amanda came to visit on the second day, September 19. I was barely conscious. The fever had broken, but I was weak, disoriented. Dad. I brought some papers. She pulled a folder from her bag. Just routine stuff. Medical insurance forms. Consent waivers, in case they need to operate or something. I could barely focus my eyes on the pages. Everything was blurry. What is this medical paperwork? Just sign here. Here. And here. I signed 4 times. I didn't read a single page. All done, Amanda said, putting the papers back in her bag. I'll handle everything. Dad, don't worry. And she left. I didn't think about it again until last week. When I opened my bank statements and saw the withdrawals, it wasn't medical paperwork. I told Montgomery. It was a financial power of attorney, real estate, bank accounts, everything. And the notary Margaret Fisher. That's the name on the documents. But I looked her up. Her notary commission expired on August 30th. And according to her daughter, she was visiting family in Florida on September 16th. She never stepped foot in that hospital. Montgomery was writing furiously. So the notary stamp is forged. Yes. And you had no idea what you were signing? No. I was half unconscious. I trusted her. The office went silent for a moment. Montgomery set his pen down and looked at me. Matt, your daughter conned you twice. The fake business and the fraudulent power of attorney. That's $50. 0 inches direct theft. Plus the $220. 0, 0, 0. She wiped out using the POA. And the attempted sale of your rental property for $575. Ling, ling, ling. I felt sick. I was a fool. I said quietly, no. Montgomery's voice was firm. You were a father who loved his daughter. There's a big difference. I didn't answer, because I wasn't sure he was right. We're going to freeze the sale of the house. Montgomery continued. And we're going to press fraud charges. Criminal charges against Amanda and against Brad. Both of them. Yes. This was a coordinated scheme. He's in, up to his neck. Believe me. I nodded slowly. What's next? I'm going to contact the title company, handling the sale Bennett Title Company. I'm also going to file a complaint with the district attorney in the Financial Crimes Division, and Michael Barber will have his preliminary report to me in 48 hours. All right. Montgomery stood up and offered his hand. Go home. Matt, try to get some rest. I'll call you the minute I have news. I walked out of the office at 330. The Austin heat hit my face as soon as I stepped onto the pavement. I got into my car, started the engine, and sat there for a moment with my hands on the steering wheel. September. That was the month everything went to hell. I pulled out of the parking garage and headed south toward the house. and all I could think about was how I had missed it. September 8, 2024, Sunday afternoon. A month and a half ago, Amanda had called. Dad, do you want to grab dinner with Brad and me, just the three of us? I said yes immediately. We met at a place on South Congress. They were already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth, holding hands. Amanda looked happy. Brad was relaxed, composed. We ordered, made small talk. Brad mentioned the wedding plans. We're thinking of keeping it small. He said, just close family, 50 people max, October 28th. So soon, I asked. Amanda smiled. When you know, you know. Then Brad leaned back in the booth. Very casual, like it meant nothing. Amanda mentioned you have a rental property in Round Rock. Yeah. 2,943 Canyon Creek Court. What's the valuation on that? Around $575. Ling, ling, ling. He nodded. Good investment. We're thinking of getting into real estate ourselves. I didn't think anything of it. And I should have. September 14. Started Friday morning. A cough. Then the fever. By Sunday, I couldn't get out of bed. Fever hit 104. Called the ambulance. They took me to St. David's. Severe pneumonia. 4 antibiotics. They told me I'd be there a few days. I don't remember much of the first 2 days. Just fever. The beeping machines. Nurses checking my vitals. Amanda didn't come to see me. She didn't call. September 19. Monday afternoon. I was in bed, half asleep, barely able to keep my eyes open. My fever had broken that morning, but I was still weak. Grogged. Dad. I opened my eyes. Amanda was standing by the bed, holding a folder. Hey. Sweetie. I mumbled. You came. Of course. She sat down. How are you feeling? Tired? But better. Good. She opened the folder. I brought some paperwork. Routine stuff. Insurance forms. Waivers in case they need to operate. I blinked. The letters were blurring. What is this hospital paperwork? You know how they are. They need signatures for everything. She pulled out a pen. Sign here. 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 And here. 4 documents. I couldn't focus enough to read them. Amanda. I can barely. Don't worry. Dad. I already read them. Just waivers. Nothing important. I signed 4 times. I didn't read a single word. September 22. I got back home on the 20th. Still weak. Exhausted. Sunday morning. I got an email from Amanda. Subject: insurance documents. Please save for your records. Attached 4 PDFs. I opened my laptop. Saw the email. Saw the files. And deleted it. I was too tired to care. I figured if it was urgent, she would tell me. I never opened those files. October 27. Now I parked in my driveway at 4:00 p.m. The house was quiet. As always, I sat in the car staring at the front door. He had planned it all. The dinner on September 8th, where Brad asked about the rental house, the hospital visit on the 16th, when I was too weak to think straight, the email on the 22nd. When I was too tired to care, he had waited until I was at my most vulnerable point, and then he struck. The hospital visit wasn't to check on me. It was to get my signature. I got out of the car and walked inside. The living room was dark. I hadn't opened the curtains in days. I walked to the mantelpiece and stopped. Catherine's photo was in its silver frame. Our anniversary. 5 years before she passed. She was smiling. Reagent. I picked it up. You always said Amanda was so smart. I whispered. You were so proud. Straight A's. Full scholarship. You told everyone she could do whatever she set her mind to. A lump formed in my throat. I just wish you would have warned me. I said quietly. That she was going to use that intelligence against me. I was still holding Catherine's photo when the phone rang. I put the frame back and looked at the screen. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something compelled me to. Hello, Matt. A familiar woman's voice, but I couldn't place it. Yes, this is Rebecca. Rebecca Turner. From the bank. My old bank. The branch where I worked for 25 years. Rebecca. Hi. I tried to keep my voice from shaking. What's going on, Matt? I'm calling because I saw some very strange activity on your accounts. Massive withdrawals. I wanted to make sure it was really you. My chest tightened. What withdrawals? Let me pull up the system. I heard typing. Okay. Here it is. I sat on the couch. The phone pressed to my ear. October 24. 9:47 AM. 90 美元. 000 transferred from your savings account to an account named Amanda Sullivan, ending in 3,782. I closed my eyes. October 24. 1:08 PM. 85美元. 000 transferred to an account registered as BH Investments. Biat. Bradley Hunter. October 25. 11:30 M. 45美元. 000 wire. Transfer to a company called Luxury Weddings. Austin. The wedding. My money paying for her wedding. And October 26. 3:42 PM. $500 in cash withdrawn from an ATM at the domain. The card used is under the name Amanda Sullivan. As an authorized user on your checking account. Rebecca paused. Matt. That's a total of $220. 500 inches, 3 days. Did you authorize these transactions? No. My voice sounded hollow. I didn't. Are you sure? Because the transfers show they were done via online banking using your credentials. And with the power of attorney we have on file. The power of attorney is a fake. I said, Silence, Rebecca. My daughter forged it. She tricked me into signing some papers when I was hospitalized last month. I had pneumonia. I was half out of it. I didn't know what I was signing. Another pause. Then her voice shifted. Sharper. Professional. Matt. I am freezing your accounts right this second. Checking and savings. No more transactions will go through. Thank you. And I'm reporting this as elder financial abuse. The fraud department will open an investigation. Elder financial abuse. The very thing I spent 30 years teaching others to avoid. And here I was. Rebecca. My throat felt tight. Amanda tried to sell my rental house. More typing. Yes. There's a pending sale in the system. 2,943 Canyon Creek Court, Round Rock. The buyers are Richard and Patricia Peters. Sale price 570 Ling ling ling. Closing date November 5th. In 2 weeks. Can you stop it? I'm going to contact the title company immediately. Who's handling the escrow? Bennett Title Company. Charles Bennett. I know Charles. I'll call him right now. We'll freeze the escrow account. Thank you. Rebecca. My voice broke. I should have seen this coming. Matt. Her voice softened. You're not the first person this has happened to. And you won't be the last. Family is the hardest to spot because we trust them blindly. I was a banker for 30 years. I should have known how to protect myself. You were a father who loved his daughter. It's not the same thing. I didn't answer. Matt, listen to me closely. You did the right thing by reporting this. A lot of people don't. They're too embarrassed. Or they're scared of what will happen to the family. But you are fighting back, and that takes guts. I nodded. Even though she couldn't see me, I'll call you as soon as I speak with Charles. Rebecca said, in the meantime, change your online banking password. And do not give Amanda access to absolutely anything else. I won't. I am so sorry this happened to you. Matt, I truly am. Thank you. Rebecca. I hung up. The house fell silent again. I stared at the phone. 220美元. Wu Bai. Gone in 72 hours. October 24. October 25. October 26. 3 days. She had taken everything, my savings, my rental income, even my checking account, and she did it all over the course of a weekend. Right before the wedding, I stood up and walked to the window. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the yard. Tomorrow was October 28th, Amanda's wedding day. She was going to walk down the aisle in a dress paid for with my money. She was going to say her vows in a venue paid for with my money. She was going to toast with champagne, cut a cake, and be surrounded by flowers, all paid for with my money. My money. The money I saved for 30 years. The money I planned to leave her the day I was gone. And she couldn't wait. She took it all at once, while I was still alive, while I was weak, sick, and trusting. I thought of her standing in that hospital room, holding those papers, telling me they were just insurance forms. I thought of her smiling at me. Don't worry, Dad. I already read them. Just sign. And I signed because I loved her, because I trusted her, because I was her father, and that's what fathers do. I looked at my reflection in the window glass. 58 years old, grey hair, tired eyes. A man who spent 3 decades protecting other people's money and couldn't protect his own. But it wasn't over yet. Tomorrow, Amanda would walk down the aisle. Tomorrow, she would marry Bradley Hunter with my stolen money. But not for long. Because I was going to stop her, I stepped away from the window and grabbed my phone. Arthur Montgomery had given me his cell number. I dialed. He answered on the second ring. Arthur, it's done. I said. The bank froze the accounts. They're classifying it as elder financial abuse, and they're contacting the title company right now to stop the sale of the house. Excellent. That's exactly what we needed. What's next? First thing tomorrow. I'm filing the complaint with the district attorney. Detective Daniel Carter is handling the fraud cases. He's going to want to interview you. Fine. Matt. Montgomery's voice was calm. Firm, you're doing the right thing. I wasn't sure I believed him, but I nodded anyway. I'll call you tomorrow, I said, and hung up. I stood in the middle of the living room, phone in hand, staring at nothing. 220美元. 000, gone in 3 days. And tomorrow she was getting married with my money. Not if I could help it. At 5:00 p.m. I called Frank. I need your help. I told him. He was at my house in 20 minutes. Frank Davies had been my best friend for 30 years. We worked together at the bank, he in commercial lending, me as a branch manager. We retired around the same time. He understood numbers. He understood fraud. And right now, I needed someone who understood both. He walked into the kitchen and found me sitting at the table with my laptop open and a scribbled notepad. Met? He pulled out a chair and sat down. What's going on? Buddy, I told him everything. The fake investment, the forged POA, the hospital, the withdrawals, the rental house, the wedding tomorrow. He didn't interrupt me. He just listened. His face got redder with every sentence. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and shook his head. Son of a bitch. Matt. I know. Amanda did this. You're Amanda. Yes. And this guy, Brad, is behind it all. I'm almost sure of it. But I need proof. Frank was quiet for a moment, looking at the notepad. Well, what are you going to do? I looked him in the eyes. I'm going to stop her. She's a criminal. Frank, she thinks I'm old. She thinks I'm weak. She thinks she can rob me, and I'm just going to sit here and swallow my pride. She's your daughter. I know. My voice was hard, but that doesn't change what she did. Frank nodded slowly. All right then. What's the plan? I turned the notepad toward him. Rebecca from the bank already froze the accounts. That's done. But there's more. Frank read the list. Action plan. Freeze bank accounts. Rebecca Turner. Stop house sale at title company escrow $575K. Lawyer fraud complaint. Arthur Montgomery. Police elder abuse. DA's office. Private investigator background check on Brad Hunter. You've been busy, Frank said. I'm just getting started. I looked up. What I need you to do is stay here, in case I need backup or a witness. Done. I grabbed my phone. First call. Charles Bennett. Alte 0 PM. Bennett Title Company. I dialed the number Rebecca had given me. A man answered on the third ring. Bennett Title. This is Charles. Mr. Bennett. This is Matthew Sullivan. Rebecca Turner from the bank gave me your number. I need to stop a real estate transaction. What's the property address? 2943 Canyon Creek Court in Round Rock. I heard typing. Okay. I see it. Sale to Richard and Patricia Peters. Closing November 5th. $575. Ling ling ling. What's the issue? My daughter is trying to sell that property without my consent. She used a forged power of attorney. Silence. Sir. I have the bank statements proving the fraud. I have a lawyer filing a complaint. And I am about to walk into the police precinct. The POA is fake. The notary's commission was expired. And she wasn't even in Texas on the date stamped on the document. Do you have proof of all this? Yes. I can email everything to you right now. More typing. All right. Mr. Sullivan. I'm going to freeze the escrow account. The $575. 000 will not be released until this is cleared up, and I'm flagging the transaction as disputed in the system. I appreciate it. I'm very sorry this is happening to you. Me too. I hung up and looked at Frank. One down. He nodded. What's next? The police? 7 PM. District Attorney. Police Precinct. The offices were quiet for a Sunday evening. I walked up to the front desk and told the officer I needed to file a report for elder financial abuse. He led me to a small room. A detective joined us 10 minutes later. Detective Daniel Carter. Midfurs. Sharp eyes. Calm demeanor. Mr. Sullivan. I'm Detective Carter. I handle financial fraud. Tell me what happened. I explained everything step by step. The timeline, the withdrawals, the fake POA, the house. He took notes, asked questions, didn't interrupt. When I finished, he put his pen down. Mr. Sullivan. This is a textbook case of elder financial abuse. You have a very solid case. Did you bring the documents? I pulled out the folder. Bank statements, emails, copies of the forged POA. He reviewed them carefully. This is very good. Very thorough. He looked up. I'm going to open a case file. We'll have to subpoena your daughter and her fiancé for questioning. But I have to tell you the truth, this might take time. Fraud cases move slow. How slow? Weeks. Maybe months. The wedding is tomorrow. He nodded. I understand. But I can't stop a wedding. Mr. Sullivan. I can only investigate financial crimes. And what if they run? Then we issue an arrest warrant. But for now, all we can do is build the case. I clenched my jaw. Fine. We'll be in touch. Carter said, in the meantime, don't seek out your daughter. Don't threaten her. Don't do anything that could interfere with our investigation. Understood? I shook his hand and left. 8:30 PM. Michael Barber. Private investigator. Back in my car, I dialed the number Montgomery had given me. A man with a deep, professional voice answered. Barber Investigations. Mr. Barber. My name is Matthew Sullivan. Arthur Montgomery sent me. I need you to run a background check on someone. Name Bradley Hunter, 34 years old. Claims to be a commercial real estate investor in Westlake Hills. What do you want to know? Everything. Criminal records, credit history, corporate filings, past relationships. Whatever you can find. That takes time. How long? 48 hours for a preliminary report. Maybe less. Do it. My rate is $150 an hour. Plus expenses. Sounds good. Send me the contract. I'll sign it tonight. It'll be in your inbox in 10 minutes. I hung up. Frank was waiting for me when I got back to the house. How'd it go? Title company froze the sale. Police opened a file. The PI is on him. Frank stood up. You did good. Matt, I haven't done anything yet. You fought back. Man, that's more than most do. He grabbed his jacket. You gonna be okay tonight, yeah? Holler if you need anything. Thanks. Frank. He left. The house fell silent again. I walked over to the mantel and picked up Catherine's photo. I couldn't protect you. I whispered. But I can protect myself. And maybe, somehow, I can still protect Amanda from herself. I put the photo down and looked at the clock. 9:00 PM. Tomorrow was the wedding. Amanda thought she had won. She thought she'd gotten away with it. She had no idea what was coming for her. I turned off the lights and went upstairs. Tomorrow. The real fight began. I didn't sleep a wink all night. At 9:00 AM, I was back in Arthur Montgomery's office. Wedding day, October 28, 2024. Montgomery was at his desk with a coffee in hand. Reviewing some papers, he looked up when I walked in. Matt, how are you holding up? Fine. I wasn't fine. He pointed to the chair. I sat down. The police opened the case file. I said, Detective Carter from Financial Crimes. Excellent. That's exactly what we need. And the title company froze the escrow account. The $575. Ling, ling, ling. Charles Bennett confirmed it last night. Montgomery nodded. We're building a very strong case. But there's one more thing we should do. What? Call Amanda. I stared at him. Warn her, he nodded. Give her one last chance to fix this. If she returns the money and cooperates with the investigation, it could reduce the charges against her. She won't listen to me. Maybe not. But if you warn her and she ignores it, that strengthens our case. It shows she was aware of the fraud and chose to proceed anyway. I looked out the window at the Austin skyline, and if I didn't call her, then she goes to jail, without even knowing she had a choice. I closed my eyes. She was my daughter. After everything, she was still my daughter. Okay, I said. I'll call her. Montgomery slid his cell phone across the desk. Usemine. In case she already blocked your number. I picked it up and dialed. It rang 3 times. Amanda answered. Hello? Her voice was bright. Happy. She didn't recognize the number. Amanda. I said, It's me. Silence. Dad. Her tone turned to ice. What do you want? I'm getting ready for my wedding. This is a bad time. Amanda. Listen to me closely. I know what you did. The power of attorney. The bank withdrawals. The house sale. A pause. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. I was a banker for 30 years. I know fraud when I see it. You forged the notary stamp. Margaret Fisher's commission expired on August 30th, and she was in Florida on September 16th. The day you claim she witnessed my signature. Silence. Amanda. I hired a private investigator. I know who Brad is. He is not who you think he is. What are you talking about? He has a 4-year-old daughter named Chloe. Her mother is Melissa Roberts, a dental hygienist in Round Rock. Brad owes $42. 0 inches child support. There's a warrant out for his arrest. That's... You're lying. Your in-laws, Rose and Richard Hunter, they aren't his parents. They're actors, Diane Cross and Albert Parrish. He paid them $2, $500 to pretend to be his family. I heard her breathing on the other end of the line. Fast. Panic. Amanda. Brad is a con artist. He's done this before. He scammed 2 other women. Mary Taylor, in Denver, out of nearly $100. Ling, ling, ling. Jenna Adams in Phoenix, out of over $60. Ling, ling, ling. He targets women with money, gains their trust, and vanishes. You're making all this up. Her voice was rising. You hate Brad. You never wanted me to be happy. That's not true. You're jealous. You've been alone for 3 years and you can't stand that I found someone, Amanda. Please, listen to me. No, now she was screaming. You listen to me. You've always blamed me for Mom. Do you think it's my fault she's gone? You always blamed me. I never blamed you for anything. Yes, you did. She was crying now. Furious. Wounded. Sobs. You stopped calling me. You stopped visiting. You made me feel like I wasn't enough. Like I could never replace her, Amanda. I'm done with you. Dad, do not come to my wedding. I don't want you in my life anymore. The line went dead. I sat there with the phone still pressed to my ear, staring at nothing. Montgomery watched me with a neutral expression. He set the phone on his desk. My hands were shaking. She hung up on me. I said quietly. I heard Frank Davies, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, stand up and walk over. He put a hand on my shoulder. She chose him, I said. My voice hollow. She chose a con man over her own father. She's scared. Frank said, and he has her manipulated. That's what con men do. Then I'll just have to save her myself. I said, even if she hates me for it. Montgomery opened a drawer and pulled out a folder. He slid it across the desk. The PI's report came in this morning. Faster than we expected. I looked at the folder. Bradley Hunter. Full background investigation. Michael Barber. Private investigator. October 28. 2024. I opened it. The first page was a summary. Subject Bradley Michael Hunter. Dob March 15. 1990. A. Fiautredu. Current residence luxury apartments in the domain. Austin. Rent $2. 400. Mo. 1 month behind. Employment. Unemployed. Claims to be a commercial real estate investor. Criminal history. 2021 Denver, Colorado. Fraud. Victim Mary Taylor. Amount $95. Ling Ling Ling. Charges filed. Suspect fled state. 2022 Phoenix, Arizona. Fraud. Victim Jenna Adams. Amount $67. Ling Ling Ling. Charges filed. Suspect fled state. Active warrants. Travis County, Texas. Unpaid child support. Amount owed $42. Ling Ling Ling. Issued June 2023. Known aliases none. Assets none identified. Debts credit cards $78. 0, 0, 0 across 5 accounts. All maxed out. Auto lease BMW 5 Series. $850. More. 2 months behind. Child support $42. 000 arrears. Total debt over $120. Ling Ling Ling. I turned to the next page. Family background. Rose Hunter and Richard Hunter are not the biological parents of Bradley Hunter. Real identities: Diane Cross. 57. Actress and waitress. Round Rock. Albert Parrish. Liu Shi. Retired car salesman. Austin. Hired online in July 2024. Total payment $2. Ubay. Diane $2. Ling Ling Ling. Contract. Attend 2 dinners and pose as parents. The investigator interviewed both. Both confirmed the arrangement. Provided contracts. Text message. Wire transfer receipts. I looked up at Montgomery. He's done this before. Yes. And Amanda has no idea. Not yet. I closed the folder. What happens now? Now. Montgomery leaned forward. We wait. The wedding will happen. Brad will think he got away with it. And then, when they least expect it, the strike. How long? A few days. Maybe a week. Detective Carter needs time to gather evidence. Interview witnesses. But when we hit, we're going to hit hard and fast. I stood up. I'm leaving. Matt. Montgomery's voice stopped me at the door. You did the right thing by calling her. By warning her. She might not see it now. But one day, she will. I didn't answer. Because I wasn't sure he was right. I walked out into the bright Austin morning. Somewhere in the city. My daughter was marrying the man who had robbed me. A man who had lied to her about absolutely everything, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. Not today. But soon, I went home. What else was I supposed to do? I couldn't go to the wedding. Amanda had made that very clear, so I sat at the kitchen table, opened the investigator's report, and started reading. 37 page. Page 3. Criminal history. 2021. Denver, Colorado. Victim Mary Taylor. 29. Marketing. Amount. Stolen $95. Ling Ling Ling. Method. Brad claimed his family owned a restaurant and needed capital to expand. Mary took out a personal loan to invest. 2 weeks later, Brad disappeared, changed his phone number, deleted all social media. and left the state. Police report filed. No arrest. Brad fled to Arizona. 2022 Phoenix, Arizona. Victim Jenna Adams. Censure R. Nurse. Amount: stolen $67. Ling ling ling. Method: Brad claimed his mother needed emergency surgery and had no health insurance. Jenna gave him her life savings. He disappeared. Police report filed. Classified as a civil matter by local PD. No arrest. Brad fled to Texas. I set the report down and stared at the wall. He had done this before, twice, and he was doing it again. With my daughter, page 8. Financial profile. He was drowning, and he was using my money, my daughter, to stay afloat. Page 14. Business investigation. BH Investments. Corporate registration, none. Tax returns, none. Employees, none. Office, space, none. Website, created in June 2024, using a free template. No legitimate content. No client testimonials. No project portfolio. Conclusion: BH Investments is a fabrication. The company does not exist. I thought about that dinner in July. Rose and Richard Hunter talking about their family business. How proud they were of Brad. Pure lies. Page 19. Parents investigation. Rose Hunter equals Diane Cross. 57. Actress and waitress. Round Rock. Hired in July 2024. Online. Payment $2. Wubai. Role pose as Brad's mother at 2 family dinners. Evidence signed contract. Text message. Wire receipt. Photo from dinner at the Prime Steakhouse. The investigator interviewed Diane. She confirmed the arrangement. Direct, quote, "I thought it was harmless. Just acting. I didn't know he was stealing from anyone." Richard Hunter equals Albert Parrish. Liu Shiyi, retired car salesman. Austin, hired via the same ad. Payment, $500. Direct, quote, "I needed the cash. I live on my pension. $500 for 2 dinners. Sounded easy. Now I feel like absolute garbage." I closed my eyes. I had sat across from them at that table. I had believed them. I thought they were good people. Page 25. Chloe and Melissa Roberts. Melissa Roberts. Sancho. Dental hygienist. Round Rock. Relationship. Dated. Brad Hunter. 2018 to 2019. Clue. 4 years old. Born June 15. 2020. Father Brad Hunter. DNA test confirmed by court order in 2021. Child support. Order $1. 200. More. Arrears $42. Ling ling ling. Brad hasn't paid since the order was issued. Arrest warrant issued June 2023 for non-payment. Recent development. October 24. 2024. Brad wired $15. 000 to Melissa Roberts on October 24. 2024. First payment in 3 years. Source of funds unknown. Presumed stolen from Matthew Sullivan. The investigator spoke with Melissa. Direct quote. "He told me he came into some money. I thought he finally got a job. I had no idea it was stolen." Analysis. It is likely Brad paid a portion of the arrears to clear the arrest warrant and avoid being arrested before applying for a marriage license. I felt sick. He had used my money. Stolen from my daughter. To pay his debt to another woman so he could marry Amanda without going to jail. My phone rang. Detective Daniel Carter. Mr. Sullivan. I wanted to update you. We have enough evidence for the arrest warrants. Multiple charges. Fraud. Identity theft. Forgery. Elder. Financial abuse. That's why I'm calling. I need you to let the wedding proceed as normal. I shot up from my chair. What if we move right now? If we arrest Brad before the ceremony? Amanda might panic. She might destroy evidence. Delete emails. Wipe bank records. Say she was coerced. If she was coerced, maybe. But we need her cooperation. And the best way to get it is to let her see with her own eyes what kind of man she married. Let her realize her mistake on her own. How long do I have to wait? A few days. Maybe a week. Let them go on their honeymoon. Let Brad think he's in the clear. Then we arrest him. And we bring Amanda in for questioning. If she cooperates, the DA might offer her a plea deal, reduced charges, probation instead of prison. And if she doesn't, then she goes down with him. I hung up. It was 1:00 p.m. The wedding was at 6:00. I sat at the table staring at the report for hours. At 5:30 p.m., I got in my car. I wasn't going to go to the wedding, but I needed to see her. I needed to know this was real. Alta Safurpeme, a beautiful venue out in the hill country. I parked across the street, far enough away that no one would see me. Close enough to see. The place was gorgeous. String lights. White flowers. A small crowd. Maybe 50 people gathered on the lawn. And then I saw her, Amanda, in a white dress. Hair done up. Makeup perfect. She looked radiant. She looked happy. Brad was standing at the altar in a tuxedo, smiling, so sure of himself, like he had won. The guests were clapping. I stayed in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel, watching my daughter marry a con man, using my money. Forgive me, sweetheart, I whispered, but this ends tonight. The address was on my phone, like a loaded gun. Round Rock, Texas. Apartment 2B. It was November 5th. Sepulu, no. And I was driving to the home of the woman my daughter's husband had abandoned 3 years ago. The private investigator had given me her details along with everything else. Photos of a little girl with Brad's eyes. Court documents for unpaid child support. Text messages begging for grocery money that had been left on read for months. Melissa Roberts, 30 years old. Dental hygienist. Single mother. Another victim in Brad Hunter's long trail of disasters. I parked outside a modest 2-story apartment complex with peeling paint and a cracked swimming pool. The kind of place where people work 2 jobs and still struggle to make rent. I walked up the stairs slowly, my banker instinct screaming that I was about to hear something I didn't want to know. She answered on the first knock. Melissa was short, dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, with tired eyes that looked older than 30. She was wearing light blue scrub, the kind you see in dental offices. She kept the door half closed. Cautious. Mr. Sullivan, yes. Thank you for agreeing to see me. She stepped aside. Come in. The apartment was tiny, but clean. A child's drawing taped to the fridge. A laundry basket on the couch. A faint smell of toast. In the corner, a little girl was sitting on the floor coloring with crayons. 4 years old. Dark curls. Brad's sharp jawline. And her mother's soft eyes. Chloe is beautiful. I said quietly. Melissa's expression softened a millimeter. She's my whole world. We sat at a small kitchen table. Melissa poured 2 cups of coffee. Her hands weren't shaking, but her voice was fragile. He met Brad in 2018 at a charity event in Westlake. He was charming, very confident, very well dressed. He told me he was a real estate investor, had properties all over the metro area. I nodded. The same script, the same lie. We dated for about a year. It was very intense, very romantic. He showed up with flowers, took me to expensive restaurants. I thought I had found someone who really saw me. I know. I understand. Then I got pregnant. Her voice dropped, and everything changed. She stared into her coffee. At first, he told me he was excited, that we were going to get married, buy a house, build a life together. But the closer my due date got, the more distant he became. He skipped doctor's appointments, stopped answering calls. When did he leave? December 2020. Chloe was 6 months old. Melissa's jaw tightened. He packed his things one night while I was at work, left a note saying he wasn't ready to be a dad. I haven't seen him since. 6 months. I thought of Amanda at 6 months, her tiny fingers wrapping around mine, her laugh filling our house. The mere thought of walking away from that, from your own flesh and blood, made my stomach churn. Did he ever pay child support? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Not a dime. I took him to court in 2021. They ordered a DNA test. The judge ordered $1, $200 a month. He couldn't have cared less. Changed apartments. Changed his phone number. Just vanished. She shook her head bitterly. The state issued a warrant for him in June of last year. I had already accepted that I'd never see a single cent. But last month, out of nowhere, 15美元, 000 dropped into my account. Melissa looked at me, confused and defensive. Wire transfer. No note. No explanation. I didn't know what to think. My chest tightened. 15美元. Ling, ling, ling. October 24th. The same day, Amanda transferred $90. 000 from my savings. That was my money. I said quietly. Melissa Bollard. What Brad stole $220. 000 from me. And he used my daughter to do it. That $15. 000 he sent you wasn't his. It was mine. She stared at me for a long time. Then she covered her mouth with her hand, her eyes filling with tears. Oh my God. I am so sorry. I didn't know. I thought maybe he finally. She stopped, shaking her head. I should have known. You have nothing to apologize for. I told her firmly. He manipulated you just like he manipulated my daughter. Just like he manipulates everyone. Melissa wiped her eyes. Why did he send it now, after 3 years? Because he needed to clear his record and get the warrant lifted so he could get a marriage license. He married my daughter on October 28th. He bought his freedom with my money to trap her. The disgust on her face mirrored my own. From the corner, Chloe looked up. Mommy, can I have some juice? Melissa's expression changed instantly. Soft. Protective. Of course. Baby. She poured a small cup of apple juice and handed it to her, brushing a curl from her forehead. The tenderness of the gesture broke something inside me. I thought of Amanda at 4 years old. Pigtails and scraped knees. Trusting her dad blindly. Where had I lost her? I reached into my jacket and pulled out an envelope. 5美元. 0 inches cash. Money I had pulled from a separate account Brad hadn't touched. This is for Chloe, I said, placing it on the table. Melissa's eyes widened. Mr. Sullivan, I can't take this. Yes, you can. You've spent 3 years raising his daughter on your own. You deserve some help, and so does she. I looked her in the eyes. I can't undo what he did, but I can try to help. Her hands trembled as she took the envelope. Thank you. I don't know what to say. Say you'll testify. She blinked. Testify. Brad is facing charges for fraud, identity theft, and elder financial abuse. If you're willing, your testimony about the abandonment, the child support, the $15. Ling, ling, ling. That will help us put him in prison. Melissa looked at Chloe, and then at me. Her voice wasn't shaking anymore. I'll testify. He has to pay for what he's done. Thank you. I stood up. Melissa walked me to the door. Chloe followed behind her, hugging a stuffed bunny. Mr. Sullivan, I turned around. Does your daughter know about Chloe? I don't think so. But she will. Melissa nodded slowly. I hope she's okay. I hope she can get out of there before he destroys her too. I hope so too. I drove home in silence, hands gripping the wheel. Bradley Hunter wasn't just a con man. He was a family destroyer. He had left Melissa alone with a baby. He had drained my life savings. He had manipulated my daughter into betraying her own father. And he almost got away with it. But not anymore, because now I had Melissa. I had the bank statements. I had the proof. And I wasn't going to let him destroy one more family. The call came through on Friday night. 3 days after I met Melissa and Chloe, I was sitting in the kitchen, in the exact same chair where I had discovered my empty accounts. When my cell phone vibrated, Amanda's name lit up the screen. I let it ring twice before answering. Hello? Amanda. Her voice was pure ice. We need to talk. No greetings. No pretending. Just cold, calculated hostility. I'm listening. You need to drop the charges. You need to call the bank and unfreeze the accounts. And you need to call the title company to release the escrow on the house. I leaned back in my chair, letting the silence stretch out. Or what? Or Brad and I are going to file a petition in court to declare you incompetent. We'll ask for a psychological evaluation, a conservatorship hearing, and if necessary, we'll put you in a psychiatric facility. My stomach churned, but I kept my voice steady. A psychiatric facility. That's right. Her tone was clipped. Rehearsed. You're 58. You're showing signs of confusion. Paranoia. Memory loss. You signed documents. You claim not to remember. You're making crazy accusations against your own family. A judge will see it. I could hear Brad's voice in the background, low and smooth, telling her what to say. And how much does a place like that cost? I asked quietly. About $8. $500 a month. Don't worry. We'll make sure you're comfortable. Barmy yuan. $500 a month for the rest of my life. Locked up. Stripped of my freedom. While they bled dry whatever little I had left. It was a good plan. Clean. Legal. Cruel. You thought this through. I said, yes. Her voice sharpened. So this is what's going to happen. You're going to admit you were wrong. You're going to apologize. And you're going to fix this. Or we'll destroy you. Or will times protect times you. She corrected herself. From yourself. I closed my eyes and thought of Catherine. I thought of the little girl who used to draw superheroes. I thought of Melissa Roberts hugging the 4-year-old girl Brad had abandoned. And I thought times, enough is enough. Amanda, before you do that, there are a couple of things you should know about your husband. I don't want to hear it. In 2021, Brad scammed a woman named Mary Taylor in Denver, convinced her to put nearly $100, 000, into a fake restaurant. She lost her life savings. Silence. In 2022, he did it again. Jenna Adams in Phoenix. Over $60. Ling Ling Ling. Told her his mom needed an operation. There was no mom. There was no operation. That's a lie. Your in-laws, Rose and Richard Hunter. Their real names are Diane Cross and Albert Parrish. They're actors. Brad paid them $2.500 to pretend to be his parents at that dinner in July. I heard her breath catch, and the best part, Amanda, Brad has a 4-year-old daughter. Her Name is Chloe. Her mom is Melissa Roberts, a dental hygienist in Round Rock. He hasn't paid a dime of child support in 3 years. He owes $42. Ling Ling Ling. He has an active arrest warrant. You're a liar. He wired Melissa $15. 000 on October 24th. The exact same day you took $90, 000, out of my savings. He used my money to clear his warrant so he could marry you. Shut up. He's a con man. Amanda. He's been doing this for years. And you helped him. Brad. Her voice pulled away from the phone, high-pitched and panicked. Brad. What is he talking about? What daughter? What actors? I could hear Brad's voice in the distance, talking fast, trying to control the situation. Babe. He's lying to you. He's trying to... Who the hell is Melissa Roberts? Brad. Amanda. Listen to me. Who is Diane Cross? The call exploded into shouting. Amanda's voice, shrill and furious. Brad's, louder, defensive, cornered. I heard something shatter, a glass, maybe a plate, and then the line went dead. I set the phone on the table and stared at it. 30 seconds later, it rang again. Unknown number. I answered. Hello, Mr. Sullivan, a older woman's voice, trembling. This is Diane Cross. I sat up straight. Miss Cross, I need to talk to you about Brad. I'm listening. She took a breath. She sounded like she had been crying. I didn't know. When he hired me, I didn't know what he was involved in. He told me it was a joke, a surprise for his girlfriend. He said his real parents had passed away, and he wanted to give her the experience of having a family before he proposed. And you believed him? I'm an actress. Mr. Sullivan. I take gigs where I can get them. Armayan. 000 for a dinner. It seemed harmless. Her voice broke. But then I saw the news. I saw your name. I saw the lawsuit. And I realized I helped him rob you. You did. I am so sorry. Now she was crying. I have my dad. He's 73. If someone did this to him, She stopped. I want to make this right. I'll testify. I'll give you everything I have. The contract, the text messages, the wire receipts, whatever you need. I exhaled slowly. Thank you. Ms. Cross, forgive me. She whispered again. Truly. Forgive me. The line cut off. I sat in the dark with the phone in my hand, feeling the weight of the last 2 weeks crushing my chest like a millstone. Someone knocked on the door. I didn't move. They knocked again. Matt. It's Frank. Open up. I let him in. Frank Davies took one look at me and guided me back to the kitchen table. He didn't ask questions. He just made coffee, set a mug in front of me, and sat down. She called. I finally said, Amanda, What did she say? Threatened to declare me incompetent. Put me in a psych ward. 8美元. 500 a month. Frank clenched his jaw. Son of a bitch. Then I told her about Chloe, about Melissa, about the fake parents. I looked him in the eyes. She didn't know. Frank. She had no idea. And now she knows. I nodded. Frank leaned forward. His voice, low and steady. Listen to me closely. You didn't destroy her marriage. You didn't ruin her life. You are time-saving. Time's her life. She doesn't see it that way. Not right now. But she will. He grabbed my shoulder. Bradley Hunter is a predator. He was going to bleed her dry and toss her out with nothing. You stopped him. I stared at my coffee. I just wish it didn't have to be like this. I know. Buddy. We sat in silence. Two old men in a dark kitchen, while somewhere across the city, my daughter's world was falling apart. And I couldn't do a damn thing to stop it. Sunday morning. November 10. Arthur Montgomery's office was quiet. The hallways were empty, except for the hum of the AC and the distant sound of traffic on Congress Avenue. I sat across from Montgomery at his desk. A yellow legal pad between us, filled with names and notes. Frank Davies was to my right, arms crossed. His face hardened. Let's review the witness list one more time, Montgomery said, tapping his pen against the pad. The preliminary hearing is in 6 days. We need everyone locked in. I nodded. Go ahead. Diane Cross. He started. Aka Rose Hunter. She's agreed to testify about the fake parents' setup. She'll bring the contract Brad gave her, text message, and wire receipts, proving he paid her $2. Ling, ling, ling. She called me Friday night. I said. She sounded genuinely remorseful. Good. Remorse sells well in court. Montgomery made a note. Albert Parrish. Richard Hunter. Same deal. 500美元. He's on board. Between the two of them, we can prove Brad fabricated his entire family history. Frank leaned forward. What about the women he scammed before? Mary Taylor. Denver. 2021. Nearly $100. 000. Stolen with the fake restaurant pitch. She's willing to testify via Zoom. Montgomery flipped the page. Jenna Adams. Phoenix. 2022. Over $60. Ling. Same story. Fake crisis. Fake urgency. Real money. She'll also testify remotely. I felt a spark of gratitude toward those women. They didn't have to show their faces. They could have stayed quiet, swallowed their shame, and moved on with their lives. But they chose to speak up. And Melissa Roberts, I asked. She's local, so she'll appear in person. Single mother. 4-year-old daughter. 3 years of unpaid child support. Her testimony establishes a pattern of abandonment and financial irresponsibility. Montgomery looked at me. It's going to be very damning. I thought of Chloe coloring on the floor of that little apartment. She's a good mother. She deserves justice. She'll get it. Montgomery set the pen down. Now comes the hard part. Detective Carter called me yesterday. I sat up straight. What did he say, Amanda? Is also under investigation. The words hung in the air like a knife. For what Frank asked. Even though we all knew the answer. Conspiracy. Fraud. Identity theft. Forgery. She directly withdrew the funds from his accounts using the fake POA. She signed the papers. She facilitated the sale of the house. Montgomery's voice was clinical. Cold. The state has enough evidence to charge her as an accomplice. My chest tightened. How much prison time if convicted? 18 months to 3 years. 3 years. My daughter in the state penitentiary. Gotta be kidding me. Frank nodded. Montgomery leaned back in his chair. But the DA is willing to offer her a deal. What kind of deal? If Amanda testifies against Brad. Full cooperation. Turns over documents. Communication. Anything linking him to the fraud. In exchange, the prosecution will recommend a suspended sentence. Probation. Community service. Restitution. But no jail time. I stared at him. And if she refuses, then she goes to trial. And if found guilty, she serves the full sentence. Frank looked at me. Have they contacted her yet? Carter tried to reach her yesterday. She didn't answer. He left a message explaining the situation and gave her until Wednesday to respond. Wednesday is in 3 days. What do you think she'll do? Frank asked me quietly. I didn't answer. I didn't know. Would she cooperate? Would she finally see Brad for who he was? A liar. A thief. A man who had used her to destroy her own father. Or would she refuse? Would she stand by him? Convinced I was the villain. That this was all a twisted plot to control her life. I thought of the little girl holding my hand to cross the street. The little girl who drew superheroes. The little girl who promised to take care of me when her mother died. And I thought of the woman who had threatened to lock me in a psych ward. I didn't know which version of Amanda was going to show up on Wednesday. Matt. Montgomery's voice brought me back. Sorry. What I was asking if you want me to contact her. Attorney to attorney. Explain where things stand. I hesitated. Would it help? It might. Sometimes hearing it from a neutral party makes a difference. Do it. I said, but don't push her. Just make sure she understands what she's facing. Montgomery nodded. I will. We finished the meeting. An hour later, Frank walked me to my car. A hand on my shoulder. She'll do the right thing. He told me. I hope so. She's your daughter. Matt, deep down, she knows the truth. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But I had spent the last 2 weeks learning that the people you trust the most are the ones who cut you the deepest. The night of November 15. I lay awake staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow was the preliminary hearing. Tomorrow. A judge would decide if there was enough evidence to take Bradley Hunter to trial. And somewhere in the city, Amanda was making a decision. Cooperate and save herself. Or refuse. And go down with the man who had destroyed us both. I thought of Catherine. I wondered what she would say. I wondered if she would forgive me for what I was about to do to our daughter. Edua nol I am. My cell phone vibrated. A text from Arthur Montgomery. Amanda's lawyer just called. She's testifying. Preliminary hearing still on for tomorrow. Sembilan am. I read the message 3 times. Then I set the phone down, closed my eyes, and let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. She chose the truth. She chose to survive. And maybe, just maybe, she chose me. The Travis County Courthouse loomed like a concrete fortress in downtown Austin, its glass and steel facade gleaming in the morning sun. I arrived at 8:00 a.m. My tie was too tight. My hands were sweating despite the crisp November air. Frank met me at the entrance. He didn't say anything, just patted my back and walked with me through security, across the lobby, and up the elevator to the 3rd floor. Arthur Montgomery was waiting outside. Courtroom 13. Briefcase in hand. Looking professionally calm. Ready, he asked me. I nodded. Though I wasn't entirely sure, Brad is already inside. They transported him from the county jail this morning, and Amanda Montgomery's face tightened. She's not coming. My stomach dropped. What do you mean she's not coming? She said. She was testifying. She will. But not today. This is just the preliminary hearing. The judge is going to decide if there's enough evidence for trial. Amanda's testimony comes later. He paused. She asked to stay away from the courthouse today. She's having a very hard time. I wanted to ask more, but the bailiff opened the door and waved us in. The courtroom was smaller than I imagined. Wood-paneled walls, bright lights, rows of empty benches, a few people scattered in the gallery. Reporters, I guessed, or just the curious. I sat in the front row with Frank beside me. Montgomery walked over to the prosecution's table, and then they brought him in. Bradley Hunter was wearing a standard orange jail uniform, handcuffed in front, his hair messy. Ball. Unshärven. None of his polished confidence, his expensive suit, or his fake Tag Heuer watch remained. He looked smaller now, diminished, but when his eyes found mine, they burned with rage. He glared at me from across the room, jaw clenched, promising violence. I held his gaze and didn't look away. You did this to yourself, I thought. Not me. The bailiff announced the judge, the Honorable Margaret Fisher, a woman in her 60s, grey hair, a no-nonsense attitude. She took her seat, opened a file, and looked at Brad without an ounce of pity. Mr. Hunter, you are facing 8 charges. Please stand. Brad stood up. His public defender, a tired-looking man in an oversized suit, stood next to him. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Lisa Ortega, rose from her table. Your Honor, the state charges the defendant with the following. Count 1, elder financial abuse. The defendant, through deceit, obtained $220, $500 from the victim, Matthew Sullivan. A. Autohaltres. Count 2, forgery. The defendant facilitated the creation of a fraudulent power of attorney with a counterfeit notary seal. Count 3, wire fraud. The defendant engaged in a scheme to illegally obtain funds and property. Count 4, theft. The defendant took unlawful control of the victim's financial assets. Count 5, identity theft. The defendant used forged documents to assume authority over the victim's accounts. Count 6, evasion of child support. The defendant owes $42, 0 inches arrears, and has evaded legal obligations for 3 years. Counts 7 and 8, additional charges of conspiracy and fraud related to prior victims in Colorado and Arizona. The judge looked at Brad. How do you plead? Brad's lawyer cleared his throat. Not guilty, Your Honor. Noted. Ms. Ortega, call your first witness. Over the next 2 hours, I watched the case against Bradley Hunter crumble like a landslide. Diane Cross took the stand first. She was nervous. Her voice shook, but she told the truth. She described the contract, the $2, ling ling ling. The text messages where Brad told her what to say at dinner. She presented the wire receipts and the fake script he had given her. Brad's face turned red. Albert Parrish went next. Same story. Wobeimewen. A paid performance. He handed over his contract and phone records. Brad whispered furiously to his lawyer. Melissa Roberts was next. She sat in the witness chair with quiet dignity, hands folded in her lap. She told the judge about Chloe, about the pregnancy he abandoned, about the 3 years of silence, the 3 years of not paying a dime, and about the sudden $15, 0, 0, 0 payment on October 24th. The same day my savings account was wiped out. Brad stared at the table, jaw locked tight. Then came the Zoom testimonies. Mary Taylor from Denver described how Brad convinced her to invest nearly $100. 0 inches of fake restaurant. Her voice broke when she said she lost her life savings. Jenna Adams from Phoenix told an almost identical scam. Over $60. Ling, Ling Ling. A fabricated story about a dying mother. No mother. No surgery. By the time the last witness finished, Brad looked like a cornered animal. The judge reviewed her notes. Mr. Hunter, I find sufficient evidence to bind you over for trial on all 8 counts. Bail is set at 500. Ling, Ling, Ling. 500美元. Ling, Ling, Ling. Brad's lawyer leaned over and whispered something. Brad turned pale. Your Honor, the lawyer said, my client does not have the resources. Then he will remain in custody until trial. The judge's gavel hit the block. Court is adjourned. They led Brad away in handcuffs. He looked back one last time, locking his eyes on mine. I didn't flinch. Outside the courthouse, the Austin sun beat down on the pavement. Waves of heat rippling. I loosened my tie and took a breath. Detective Daniel Carter walked up to us. His badge hung from his belt. Mr. Sullivan. Avowed. Frank and Montgomery stepped aside. Carter lowered his voice. We're issuing the arrest warrant for your daughter in the next 48 hours. Conspiracy. Fraud. Forgery. She'll have to turn herself in. My chest tightened. She agreed to cooperate. I know. And that's going to help her a lot. But she still committed crimes. The law doesn't care if she was manipulated. Carter's expression softened. I'm very sorry. I know this isn't easy. Is she going to jail? It depends on the judge. If she cooperates 100%, testifies, and shows remorse, it's highly likely she gets probation. But she'll have a criminal record. I nodded slowly. Thank you. Detective. He walked away. I stood there on the courthouse steps. The noise of the city buzzing around me. Cars. Voices. The distant wail of a siren. My phone vibrated. A text message. Unknown number. I opened it. Dad, I need to talk to you. Amanda. I stared at the screen. After 2 weeks of silence, after the threats, the lies, the theft. Dad, I need to talk to you. Frank stood next to me. What happened? I showed him the message. He exhaled slowly. What are you going to do? I looked up at the courthouse, then back down at the phone. I don't know, I said quietly, but I knew I couldn't ignore her. Not yet. The coffee shop in downtown Austin was quiet at 4:00 p.m. I sat near the back, a black coffee untouched in front of me. Waiting, Amanda walked in 7 minutes late. I barely recognized her. No makeup, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, an oversized gray sweater, and jeans. Her eyes were red and swollen. Her face was pale. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. She sat across from me without saying a word. Hi, Dad. Her voice was barely audible. Hi, sweetie. The silence stretched between us. She started twisting her fingers, looking down at the table. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry, Dad, for everything, for the money, for the house, for what I said about Mom, about the psych ward. I didn't mean it. I was just... Her voice broke. She covered her eyes with her hands, trying not to cry. I waited. Brad told me you wouldn't even notice, she said, tears spilling over. He told me you had so much money that taking a little bit wouldn't hurt you. He said you'd want to help me, and I believed him. I wanted to believe him because I was desperate. She looked up, her face wet. I over $120. Ling, ling, ling. Dad, just credit cards. I was about to get evicted from my apartment. I didn't know what to do. $120,000. Why didn't you come to me? I asked softly. Why didn't you just ask for help? She shook her head. Because I was ashamed. Because I didn't want you to think I was a failure. Her voice dropped even lower. And because after Mom died, you disappeared. Not in person, but in your heart. You were there, but you weren't. I tried to talk to you, but you didn't want me. You wanted her. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I felt like I lost both my parents that day. She whispered, and I've been trying to get you back ever since. I stared at her, a knot forming in my throat. She was right. After Catherine's accident, I sank into a grief so deep I couldn't see the light of day. I stopped answering calls. I stopped living. I had abandoned my daughter when she needed me most. Amanda, I said, my voice rough. I am so sorry. I didn't know. I know you didn't know. That's why I didn't tell you. She wiped her eyes. But Brad knew. He knew I was angry. He knew I felt abandoned. And he used it. He told me you owed me. That taking the money wasn't stealing. It was just taking what was rightfully mine. And now I know he lied to me about everything. The investments, the properties, his parents, his whole life. Her face twisted in shame. I helped him rob my own father, and I can't undo it. I reached across the table and grabbed her hand. She flinched at first, then clung to my fingers like a lifeline. I forgive you. I told her. She shook her head violently. You shouldn't. I don't deserve it. Amanda, look at me. She did. Tears still streaming down her face. I forgive you. You made a mistake. You were manipulated. But you are still my daughter. And I love you. She broke. She folded forward, sobbing into her hands. I stood up, walked around the table, and pulled her into my arms. She buried her face in my shoulder and cried, a deep, gut-wrenching cry that sounded like it had been buried for years. I held her and whispered the words I should have said 3 years ago. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry too. Dad, please forgive me. We stayed like that for a long time. At 4:45 p.m., the door opened. Detective Daniel Carter walked into the coffee shop. Amanda pulled away from me, wiping her face. I called him. She told me quietly, I have to do this. I have to face what I did. Carter walked over. Ms. Sullivan, are you ready? She stood up. Her legs were shaking. Yes. He didn't handcuff her. A small mercy. But he put a hand on her elbow and guided her toward the door. Amanda stopped and turned to look at me. Do you really forgive me? I looked at my broken, ashamed daughter, begging for a little grace. I already did. I said, but first, you have to forgive yourself. She gave a small nod and a faint smile. Then Detective Carter led her out into the bright Austin sun. I stood by the window and watched them walk toward an unmarked car. I saw Amanda get into the back seat. I watched the car pull away, taking my daughter toward a future I couldn't control, and I realized something. I had gotten her back. Not the version of Amanda I lost 3 years ago. Not the little girl with the pigtails and crayons, but the woman she was now. Flawed. Broken. Real. She was going to face charges. She was going to plead guilty. She might even see the inside of a jail cell. But she was mine again. And that was enough. The Travis County Courthouse was freezing on the morning of January 15th. I sat in the front row, alone, my hands folded in my lap, watching the bailiff call for order. All rise. The Honorable Judge Margaret Fisher, presiding. The gallery stood up. The judge walked in, her grey hair pulled back, expression unreadable. She took her seat and glanced around the room. The state of Texas versus Bradley Michael Hunter and Amanda Marie Sullivan. You may be seated. I sat down. Brad was brought in first, wearing the same orange uniform from the preliminary hearing, handcuffed in front. He looked thinner now, his face and eyes dark. He shot me a glance, a spark of wrath, then looked away. Amanda came in next. She wore a simple navy blue dress, her hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked small, fragile. When her eyes met mine, I gave her a small nod. She nodded back and sat next to her public defender. The trial lasted 3 days. On the first day, the prosecutor laid out the timeline. The fake POA, the unauthorized withdrawals, the fake boutique, the house sale, every transaction, every lie, every manipulation exposed in cold, clinical detail. Mary Taylor testified via Zoom from Denver. She spoke calmly, but her voice shook when she described losing nearly $100. 0 inches. Brad's fake restaurant scam. Jenna Adams followed. Phoenix. Over $60. Ling, ling, ling. The fabricated story of a dying mother. She cried on screen. On the second day, Diane Cross and Albert Parrish took the stand. They described the fake parent setup, the contract, the script Brad had provided. Diane apologized to me directly from the witness stand. Forgive me, Mr. Sullivan. I didn't know. Melissa Roberts testified in person. She held it together until the prosecutor asked about Chloe. Then her voice broke. He left when she was 6 months old. I didn't hear from him for 3 years until he sent the $15. 0 inches October. Money he stole from Mr. Sullivan. Brad stared at the table, his jaw clenched tight. On the third day, I took the stand. The prosecutor asked me to describe the fraud. I went step by step. The missing money, the forged documents, and the hospital visit, where Amanda tricked me into signing the POA while I was weak and feverish. Mr. Sullivan, the prosecutor said, your daughter participated in this fraud. She withdrew funds. She facilitated the sale of your property. How do you feel about that? I looked at Amanda. She was staring at her hands, tears streaming down her face. My daughter stole my money, I said quietly, but Bradley Hunter stole her soul. The courtroom fell silent. He manipulated her. He preyed on her grief, her loneliness, her desperation. She made a terrible mistake, but he was the one who made her believe it was justified. The prosecutor nodded. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Then it was Amanda's turn. She walked to the stand slowly, trembling. The prosecutor asked her to recount the scheme. She did, her voice shaking, pausing every few sentences to wipe her eyes. I lied to my dad. I forged his signature on the documents. I took his money. I helped Brad sell his house. She looked at me, her face soaked in tears. Forgive me, Dad. I am so sorry. Brad's lawyer stood up. Ms. Sullivan, you are testifying against Mr. Hunter to save yourself, aren't you? No, Amanda said. I'm testifying because what we did was wrong, and I have to take responsibility. You expect this court to believe. Objection, the prosecutor said, badgering the witness. Sustained. The judge ruled. Brad's lawyer sat down in frustration. Then Brad himself took the stand. He denied everything. He claimed Amanda acted alone. He claimed he tried to stop her. He said I was the one lying, trying to frame him because I disapproved of the relationship. The jury didn't buy a word of it. When Amanda's lawyer cross-examined him, Brad lost his temper. He pointed at Amanda, raising his voice. She's a liar. She planned the whole thing. She used me. Amanda shrank back but didn't look away. Mr. Hunter, the judge said sharply, control yourself, or I will have you removed from this courtroom. Brad leaned back in his chair, fuming. On January 19th, the jury returned, guilty on all counts. Judge Fisher sentenced Brad. Mr. Hunter, you have demonstrated a pattern of deceit, manipulation, and financial exploitation spanning multiple years and multiple victims. You preyed on vulnerable individuals, including the elderly and a single mother. This court sentences you to 5 years in the state penitentiary. Furthermore, you are ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $220, $500 to Matthew Sullivan, and $42, 0 inches child support arrears to Melissa Roberts. Brad turned white. Then the judge turned to Amanda. Ms. Sullivan, you participated willingly in this fraud. However, the court recognizes that you were manipulated by Mr. Hunter, that you have shown genuine remorse, and that you cooperated fully with the prosecution. This court sentences you to 18 months in the State Women's Correctional Facility, followed by 5 years of supervised probation. You are held jointly liable for the restitution. Amanda nodded, crying. The bailiffs led them away. Brad didn't look back. Amanda did. Her eyes met mine one last time before the door closed. 2 days later, I sat in the visiting room of the women's prison. Amanda walked in wearing a khaki uniform, her hair shorter now, her face pale but calm. She sat across from me, a thick acrylic pane separating us. We picked up the receivers. Hi, Dad. Hi, sweetie. She offered a faint smile. 18 months. I know it's a long time. I shook my head. It's nothing. I'll wait for you. 18 months. I can wait. Her eyes filled with tears. Do you really mean that I really do? She pressed her hand against the glass. I pressed mine against hers. I love you, Dad. I love you too. We stayed like that for a long time, 2 hands separated by acrylic, holding on to each other. The letter arrived in March 2025, 2 months after the trial. A standard white envelope with the prison return address and Amanda's handwriting. I opened it at the kitchen table. Dear Dad, I don't know how to start this. I've written it like 10 times. My therapist says I need to stop running away from the hard things. I'm sorry for stealing from you, for lying to you, for what I said about Mom. I've been going to therapy twice a week. I'm learning things I didn't want to see. How I blamed you for Mom's death, because it was easier than accepting she was gone. How I let Brad manipulate me. How I convinced myself that stealing from you wasn't stealing because I was angry. None of that was your fault. Dad, you were grieving. You were human. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just need you to know that I am trying to become the person you raised, the person Mom would have wanted me to be. I love you, Dad. Amanda. I read it 3 times, then carefully folded it up. That same night, I wrote back, Dear Amanda, I got your letter. Thank you for being honest. You don't have to keep apologizing. I already forgave you. What you need to do now is forgive yourself. I am so proud of you for going to therapy. That takes a lot of courage. I want you to know something. No matter what you did, no matter what happens, I choose to love you. There are no conditions to that. That is the absolute truth. 18 months will go by fast. I'll be right here when you get out. Love. Dad. I mailed it the next morning. The months that followed were quiet. Spring turned to summer, and summer to fall. The house felt empty, but it was a different kind of empty. It wasn't a hollow ache anymore. It was an anticipation. In April, Frank convinced me to go back to teaching at the Austin Public Library. I started doing the elder abuse seminars twice a month. I told my story carefully, without giving names, and watched the seniors lean forward, taking notes. And how did you know something was wrong? Someone asked me. I didn't. I told them, not at first. I trusted the person who hurt me. That's what makes it so hard. After one class, a man in his 70s approached me, trembling. My son has been taking money out of my account. I didn't know who to tell. I handed him Arthur Montgomery's card. Call this lawyer. He'll help you. The man's eyes welled with tears. Thank you. I thought of Amanda, of how easy it would have been to stay quiet. But I didn't, and maybe this man wouldn't either. In June, I took some of the restitution money trickling in from Brad's prison wages and set up a small $5 Nullfond, the Catherine Sullivan Senior Protection Fund. Money to help other victims pay for lawyers, therapists, basic needs. Frank helped me with the paperwork. Catherine would be so proud. He told me. I hope so. Amanda's letters came every 2 weeks. She told me about her therapy sessions, her job in the prison library, the book club she had joined. She told me about the women she had met, all trying to survive their mistakes. There's a lady here named Maria, embezzled money to pay for her daughter's cancer treatments. She's been here 3 years. She says the hardest part isn't being locked up. It's the guilt. I understand that now. I always replied with short notes, updating her on the house, how terrible Frank was at golf, the seminars, the fund. You're doing really good things. Dad, she wrote in October, I'm so proud of you. I cried when I read that in November, Frank invited me to spend Thanksgiving at his daughter's house. I almost said no. The idea of celebrating while Amanda sat in a cell felt unbearable. But I went. Frank's grandkids ran around screaming. His daughter served me a plate of turkey. I ate. I smiled when I had to. On the drive back, Frank asked, You doing okay hanging in there? She gets out in 7 months. I know. Buddy. December arrived. I put up a Christmas tree for the first time since Catherine passed. I hung a few ornaments, plugged it in, and just stared at it. On Christmas Eve, I wrote to her, Dear Amanda, I miss you. I don't say it enough, but it's the truth. I put up a tree this year, maybe because I wanted to remember when you were little, maybe because I needed to believe that good things can come back. 6 more months. We're almost there. Merry Christmas. My little girl. Love. Dad. January came, cold and clear. I crossed the days off the calendar in the kitchen. 18 months minus 13. 5 left. In February, Amanda's letter was different. Dear Dad, I've been thinking about what happens when I get out. I'm scared. Scared of not finding a job. Scared of people judging me. Scared of disappointing you again. But I also have hope. I've changed. Dad, I understand what I did now, not just to you, but to myself. I let anger and fear make my decisions for me. I won't do that again. I don't know what my life is going to look like in 4 months. But I know I want you in it. If you'll still have me, I love you. Amanda. I wrote back immediately. Dear Amanda, of course I'll have you. You're my daughter. That hasn't changed. It will never change. You're going to be fine. More than fine. You're going to build a life you can be proud of. And I'll be right here to help you however I can. 4 months left. I'm counting the days with you. Love. Dad. On the last night of February, I sat on the back porch, bundled up, looking at the Texas sky. The stars shone endlessly. I thought about the last 18 months, the theft, the trial, the letters, the waiting. I thought about Catherine, about the promise I made to protect our daughter. I failed her for a long time, but in the end, I kept it. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a folded piece of paper, Amanda's drawing from 1999. My daddy, the hero, the crayon lines were faded, the paper soft from age. I stared at it for a long time. We did it. Catherine, I whispered into the cold night air. 4 more months. We're going to make it. And for the first time in years, I believed it. When I look back and see everything that happened, I don't just see the betrayal. I see my own silence, my own grief, my own blindness. This wasn't just a family story about money. It was a story about distance, pride, and those dangerous things we don't dare say out loud. I thought being strong meant swallowing the pain. I was just wrong. If you take anything away from this story, let it be this. Don't turn a blind eye to the red flags just because they come wrapped in love. Don't sign what you haven't read. Don't assume your kids are fine just because they smile at you. And don't disappear emotionally the way I did after my wife died. That void became the space someone else slipped through. People might say what I did was a father's revenge, but it wasn't revenge. A father's true revenge isn't about destroying your child. It's about stopping the person who is destroying them. And sometimes, a painful truth is the only form of protection there is. If there was any revenge on this whole journey, it was against the deception, not my daughter. Justice matters. Taking responsibility matters. But mercy matters too. I believe God doesn't waste our pain. He uses it to polish us. I lost money. I lost my peace. But I got my daughter back. And that is worth more than any balance in the bank. Now, from my heart to yours, thank you for staying with me to the end of this journey. Leave me a comment and tell me what would you do if you were in the shoes of this father, betrayed by his own blood, and had to choose between justice and forgiveness. I really want to read your thoughts. If this story moved something inside you, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next tales. And remember, although this story is inspired by real-life issues, some details were dramatized to tell it better. If these kinds of stories aren't your thing, feel free to check out other videos you might like more.